This video I want to take a look at self-building a house, stage payment mortgages and self-building a house, and look specifically at the type of outlays and costs you're going to encounter. I've done a video already in relation to the outlays and costs in relation to buying a new house, buying a second-hand house, and this one I've been requested to do one in relation to self-building because I know quite a few people receive the sites from parents and they have to then build or choose to build their own house. So we're going to look at self-build stage payment mortgages, the costs and outlays, and for the sake of this video we are going to say that the site value is say €50,000. So around where I am in Enfield in County Meath or in Kildare, you might get a site from a parent. It could be worth 20 or 30 grand, maybe worth more without planning permission. With planning permission, it's probably worth at least 50 grand. But for the sake of this presentation and analysis, we're just going to look at, or we're going to assume, a site value of 50,000, and we're going to assume that the site is being gifted from a parent. Site transfer fee then in relation to or for the Property Registration Authority will involve the transfer of the site into your name from the parent, and that's going to cost, I think, to the best of my memory, €175 because it's a voluntary transfer. As I say, we're assuming a gift. You're going to need to register a charge or a mortgage on the property because the lender who is going to finance your stage payment mortgages is going to want the charge registered. So that's going to cost €175. And then if the site is being carved out of an existing folio, an existing farm, for example, you're going to look at a cost of €75 for a new folio opening. I think they are the Property Registration Authority fees. I think they're accurate enough. That's what you're looking at. In terms of stamp duty then, it's a non-residential. It may well be a gift of a site for the purpose of building a residential property on it, but it is non-residential. You're looking at stamp duty rate of 7.5%. 50,000 then is the valuation. It's a gift. We're not paying 50,000, but we have to value it at the correct value. You will need an estate agent to give you a valuation, or to give you a valuation which you will give to your solicitor who will place it on the file. 50 grand we're assuming is the value. 7.5% is the stamp duty rate. That means that you're going to pay stamp duty of 3,750. Legal fees. There's two aspects to the legal fees for a solicitor like me. One is the transfer of the site in the first instance from your parent to you, and secondly then there is the stage payment mortgages, the drawdown of the funds in various tranches, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 different tranches. There is the certification of title for the lender. There is the taking in of the stage payment certificates from the architect, checking the certificates that are being issued by the architect or the supervising engineer, and essentially standing over then the title documents at the end and ensuring that the bank is satisfied that it's getting good marketable title. So 2 stages from a professional legal perspective. One is the initial transfer of the site, and the other is supervising the stage payment mortgages, dispersing the money to you then to build the property, and then ultimately registering the property if it hasn't already been registered by way of transfer with the Property Registration Authority, and then scheduling the title documents and sending in the title documents along with a certificate of title to the lender, and that's on foot of the solicitor's undertaking to the bank. You're looking at a professional fee of probably between 1,500 and 2,500 plus VAT. That will depend on the build cost. That is the professional legal fee. I'm assuming that you're building the house for anything between 250,000 and perhaps 400,000, 250,000 to 350,000 or thereabouts. That's what I'm seeing around my area in Enfield and County Meath. So on that basis then you're looking at a total professional legal fee of something between 1,500 plus VAT and 2,500 plus VAT. You're also going to incur some miscellaneous legal outlays and costs. For example, Commissioner for Oaths fees in relation to statutory declarations, family home declarations and so forth for the lender, and you may well run into some miscellaneous outlays that will be required. The biggest fee though, the biggest outlay and cost is probably for the supervising architect. I'm guessing that, but there would be obviously quite a bit of work involved for the architect in supervising the build and in perhaps dealing with the planning application in the first instance, perhaps getting it through planning, then supervising, then issuing the certificates of compliance with building regulations and planning permission. So I would imagine that the supervising architect, his fee or her fee would be the biggest cost you're going to encounter in a self-build arrangement. Therefore, I'm just saying to you, shop around. It will depend on the scope of the services being provided. When I say the scope of the services being provided, you might have an engineer or an architect who will take this from the conception stage and draft up or draw up a planning application, liaise with you in relation to design and so on, and ultimately then issue the various certificates, supervise the build and sign off on it at the end and give a certificate of compliance with planning permission and building regulations. That's a full service. You may have a slightly different arrangement with your own depending on how you are building. For example, you may only require occasional visits from the architect. I'm not sure in relation to that, but you would want to shop around, speak to a number of architects, get a few quotes, but that is probably going to be a significant enough cost in terms of building your own property. Other outlays then to budget for: one, a bank valuation. The bank is going to want a valuation. I'm not 100% at what stage they want a valuation. They'll probably want a valuation of the site, but they'll also want a valuation at the various stages of the stage payment certificate from the architect, which will set out the amount of work that's been carried out, the value of that work, and how much remains to be done. Then one, financial contribution to the local authorities and outlay. That's one that you could overlook very easily. The likelihood is you're going to have planning permission condition for which will make provision for a contribution to the local authority. That will depend very much on the local authority. Westmeath, Kildare, Meath, they all have different sort of contribution rates, as it were. I know that Meath and I know that Kildare are fairly high, but again, you need to check your planning permission. There will be a special condition there, and it will be granted. Your planning permission will be granted on the basis of special conditions or certain conditions, and one of them will be a contribution to the local authority for the cost that they will incur in providing whatever services they may provide. For example, perhaps improving the road down to the property or whatever. Whether you actually see that work being carried out or not remains to be seen. I doubt it very much, but what you will see is a special condition, or condition rather, in the planning permission, the planning condition, that there is a financial contribution to the local authority. And this is an easy outlay that you're going to incur. It's an easy one to overlook because you can get carried away with the build. You can get carried away, especially coming towards the end, in relation to kitting out the house with furniture and fit a kitchen and tiling and bathrooms and floor coverings and all that crack. But you may have overlooked the financial contribution to the local authority. Don't make that mistake. That's me, Terry Gorry and Company Solicitors in Enfield. I hope you find the video useful. If you do, give it a thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.